What's going on, guys? ShadowNinja here, and today we are in Destiny 2, and I want to revisit my Banner of War Synthoceps video. Now, Anderson here on screen, we will be going over the build again. I don't want to rinse and repeat, I'm sorry, but I really want to focus this video on Wormgod Caress. In the comment section of this video, shout out to whoever, I'll probably tell you got a shout out in my video. He mentioned that Synthoceps got nerfed to 35% damage, which is true. And he also states that Wormgod is way better right now, as well as Pedigree Greaves. But Pedigree Greaves is kind of its own little niche thing. As you see there, Grandmaster and Root of Nightmares, Nezarec, I don't even know if they fixed that yet, or if they're going to fix that, is kind of the way to go with that exotic, in my opinion. But altogether, yeah, I want to give this a go and shout out there. But as you can see in the comments down below, there is some differing opinions, which I think is fair. So some of the parts of this, when we talk about Wormgod Caress, is about usability versus technicality. So there's going to be the number side of it, and then there's going to be the other side of like how easy it is to use. It's not stating that Wormgod Caress is the most hardcore exotic to ever use as a Titan, but we got to be honest here. There is some skill involved and some situational awareness that is needed to really get the maximum area of effect with this. So one thing for sure is to talk about, this video is focusing on Strand. I do, and I can easily tell that this is probably a little bit better for Solar with the Bonk Hammer, but that is a different conversation. So let's talk about Wormgod Caress and what it does as an exotic. And as you see here, defeating a target with a melee or a finisher grants escalating melee damage, which decays over time. Specifically, you see it here, it decays. And one thing to keep in mind is that the higher the stack, the faster it decays. I don't like that. I wish that could be changed, but maybe that's a balancing part of it. Who knows? Now, higher levels of Burning Fist grant increased weapon damage. So this is a nice pairing when it comes to just like the damage it gives to your weapons in itself. One thing to mention, based on community research here on LightGG, finisher and glaive melee kills grant a stack of Burning Fist up to the maximum of 5 stacks. It's important to mention that something I've noticed, I could be wrong, could be something being missed here, is that super hits do not see a benefit, from what I can tell, from Wormgod Caress. So that's kind of a knock there, but Banner of War should increase that damage for you. But again, kind of wish you got a little bit of a buff there, right? Now the damage increases at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stacks. Melee is 55 to 110 to 165, which is what Synthoceps is at now, 220%, and then 275%. And then as you see with the glaive melee damage, it's 40%, 80%, 120%, 160%, and 200%. So even though this build won't focus on glaives, if you guys want to use glaives in PvE, this is a good exotic to do that. And as you see below, we won't talk about too much, but those are the weapon buffs, and they do increase with empowering buffs, which is a nice little stack depending on the team you're running with. So that is the technicality of Wormgod Caress, and yes, that seems remarkable. However, one problem with this is the fact that you need a lot of ads and you need the right scenario. Now, as you probably saw in that comment section, yes, if you're trying to solo dungeons and stuff like that, Wormgod Caress is probably going to be a much better exotic if the ad density is up, because you're by yourself, you get to kill all these things with your melee. It's consistent in that regard. But if you're like in a raid, like you're seeing in the gameplay, or you are in a low dense area of the game, because there's still some activities with low enemy density, then Wormgod Caress is going to kind of sit in the back burner of being, just use Synthoceps. There's a lot more consistency, and you don't really need to do anything except be around enemies to proc it. So that's where I say Synthoceps still gets the edge over Wormgod Caress, but it's not in a way that is egregious like it probably was before. It's just in a way of like, hey, depending on your scenario, depending on what you're trying to go for, then yes, you're going to want Wormgod Caress. Oh, not that much ads, I'm in a very low density place, or I'm not running ad clear like you're seeing in this Root of Nightmares run right here, I'm going to run Synthoceps. Either or is fine, but in order to maximize your efficiency with your exotic of choice, that scenario is really important. But as you could tell, I'm not saying Wormgod Caress is awful, I'm just saying it needs to be implemented in a high ad density location, and I think Nezarec and Planets is a great place to showcase that ad density power that Wormgod Caress can do. Now, we're going to jump into the build. I'm going to be very quick about this, not get into too much detail, because I have talked about this multiple times, and in my Precious Scars video, and teaching you how to screen on that one, and as I mentioned before, my other Banner of War video with Synthoceps as the main highlight. So jumping in here, honestly, this is like one of my favorite drips for Wormgod Caress. This is a very ugly exotic in my opinion, and I made it work. Leave your thoughts down below on the drip. But let's jump into the subclass. We're using the grapple grenade because, of course, aspects is Into the Fray and Banner of War. These are just the best aspects to use. I do like the lash one, but it is what it is. And then the storm one is the storm one. Now for your fragments, you're going to want Thread of Generation for dealing damage, generates grenade energy. You're going to want Thread of Fury. Tangled grants melee energy. That's fun, good, like yes. Thread of Warding, picking up Orb of Power, grants Woven Mail, and as we saw with Into the Fray, this does stack and help you with your melee regeneration. And then Thread of Continuity, Suspend, Unravel, and Sever effects applied to targets have increased duration. This is fun. I like this a lot. If you guys want to switch it for whatever reason, feel free to do that. Now, with the loadouts, since this is potentially glaive focused, yes, you could use a glaive in this regard, but since we got a comment like this, yeah, we're using Quicksilver Storm, and we got 2 crafted weapons, bruh. 2 crafted weapons. How do you feel? But yeah, we're using the Earmite and the Apex Predator. Best rocket in the game. My favorite fusion in the game right now. And then obviously my favorite exotic primary in the game. So if you guys want to switch around, do whatever there, but try to stay a little bit focused on Strand and Solar for Season of the Wish. Depending on the other seasons, depending on the state of the sandbox and the final shape, whenever you're watching this video, this is a very long season, then yeah, you could use other weapons out there. But yeah, this is pretty much the loadout. Nothing to say too much, but we got to talk about armor mods. We have a heavy ammo finder right now, but in reality, you guys want ashes to assets, or specifically hands-on. I don't know why I said ashes to assets. And then we have a siphon mod for our Wormgod Caress. We are just rocking impact induction and momentum transfer. Our plates, we have solar reserves and stuff like that. Again, the chests they need a little bit of buff for the mods. Leg armor, we're rocking 2 invigorations and a solar weapon surge. And then the mark, we have 2 timed dilations to kind of extend our decay on our armor charges, but nothing crazy there, stuff you've seen in other videos. But let's jump out and give you guys my closing thoughts. Yeah, once again, I'm sorry that we kind of rushed through the builds. I don't want to waste your time. This is something I have covered, and if you guys want the full detail, you can check my ShadowNinja Banner of War video. It is timestamped, so you don't got to listen to me talk about other stuff if you guys just want to get to the point, stuff like that. But altogether, Wormgod Caress, I've been using it. Been using it in raids, been using it in dungeons, been using it in the coil. It is a solid exotic. It is really good. But if you want a little bit more consistency, then I do still think ShadowNinja is still the best melee buff damage out there. And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that it does stack with your super, which is another benefit. But if it doesn't, guys, you're still rocking Banner of War either way, and that's a great buff to the Strand super. But altogether, leave your thoughts down below on this little video. What do you guys think about what I said? How do you guys feel about Wormgod Caress after what I've said? Or hey, maybe you guys have your own opinions on this exotic before watching this video. Leave your thoughts down below. If you guys also enjoyed this video and found this video informative, definitely be sure to drop this video a like, helps out the video a ton. And for all you guys that watch, subscribe, like, share, whatever it may be, thank you guys. It's really appreciated seeing some of the support on the channel. It's like some of the numbers, even though it may not be massive to other creators, but to me, it's like kind of like seeing some of the stuff. I'm like, man, some of those numbers are just something I just can't get my head around. And if it keeps on growing and stuff like that, I'm still going to be wild and I'm still going to be grateful for you guys. But besides that, if you guys want more content from me like this, whether it's Destiny 2, Rainbow Six Siege, or Call of Duty, tons of stuff on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell to be notified when I do drop more content. But I've done enough talking. I hope you guys have a good one. ShadowNinja here, and I'm out.